Hello everybody, welcome back to Crimson Gray. Let's go ahead and continue on. I'm not sure where we're going, but I hope for the best. Lizzie met him at the edge of the fair. Shifting from foot to foot eagerly, her face lit up when she saw him and she immediately hurried to meet him.
Oh, you're finally here! This is going to be so much fun.
I'm glad to spend time with you. But honestly, I haven't gone to the fair in a few years.
Well, I'm sure we'll have fun. Besides, the important thing is that people will see us together.
What?
Dating doesn't really count unless a guy is willing to go to the fair with you. Guys don't talk like that?
No, but I'm happy to be seen with you.
Yay! Let's go see what they all have.
For a while they just wandered, checking out all the attractions. Since the fair was still getting started up, it was easy to grab some food and cotton candy, which Lizzie happily fed on pieces of while they walked. Thinking about what being there together meant for her, John realized that he didn't mind. After everything they had been through, boyfriend and girlfriend felt like cheap words. It felt like the hardest stretch had to be behind them. He'd seen Lizzie at her worst. He would be happy to be with her at her best.
Ah, is that a knife throwing booth? But we don't have to visit. Come on, let's go this way.
Instead, Lizzie directed them toward a high striker booth. John kind of marveled at it. He'd seen them in pictures, but he hadn't been sure that they actually existed anymore. Some classmates he barely recognized were trying their luck at the moment, swinging the hammer high overhead and bringing it down onto the target as hard as they could. None of them got the slider more than halfway to the bell.
John, try it.
Man, is there even any points? I'm gonna suck.
Oh, but try.
Giving in, he inserted his coin. Just lifting the hammer felt almost too heavy for him, but Lizzie was watching and so he couldn't give up. John brought the hammer down as best as he could. It felt like a strong blow, but the slider barely moved up a quarter of the distance. Some of his watching classmates laughed. See? I'm pathetic.
No, you just haven't learned how to use your strength. Here, let me help you.
She slid up close behind him, wrapping her arms around his and changing his grip on the hammer. With their bodies so close against his, the watching classmates stopped laughing.
See, you need to throw your body into it. So set your feet like this. Shift your hips a little.
He felt a little like a doll, being moved by her like that, but the pose she put him in did feel better. More of his body would be behind the swing now.
Good. Now try again.
She backed away and John took a deep breath. If he sucked again, he was going to feel absolutely worthless. But no, he couldn't let himself think that. Instead, he brought the hammer down as hard as he could. To his surprise, it actually made it most of the way up. It didn't ring the bell, but it was better than he'd seen anyone else do.
See? Good job.
She seemed absolutely elated, even just with his mildly improved performance. But despite himself, John found that his mood was improved. They walked away together, ignoring the watchers entirely. I'm surprised you know so much about this kind of thing.
Oh, hammers are interesting. They're just very, very messy.
I should have known better than to ask. There was a moment of hesitation in her eyes, but she saw his smile, then returned it. At another booth, Lizzie managed to toss every single ring onto the furthest pin. That one or a giant stuffed bear, which she would just laughed at, gave to him the hold. For a while he was having a great time, but then, still carrying the bear, he heard an unpleasant snicker. Are you two fucking serious? You two came here to play around with stuffed animals? One of his classmates was there with his girlfriend, pawing at her chest while she giggled and swatted his hands. They both leered at John and Lizzie holding hands. I mean, what are you, 12? Once, taunts might have bothered him, but now John didn't care. He didn't even have any desire to prove that his friend was wrong. When he thought about everything he had been through with Lizzie, he felt her squeeze his hand. He just didn't care. Come on, let's ditch these losers. His classmate's girlfriend led him away, and John didn't really care about that either. When he gave Lizzie a smile though, she seemed a little irked. You can't just ignore them, you know? Yeah, but that won't be satisfying. Come on, this way. She dragged him into a narrow alleyway between two stalls, a little ways down. There's a closed off space in between several temporary stalls. Surrounded on three sides, the sounds of the fair seemed softer. They became very aware of how alone they were as Lizzie slid off her jacket. You want to do something not childish at all? Yes, I think I do. I know I can be a difficult girlfriend sometimes, but I want to show you that I can be nice too. He leaned back against the wall, needing a moment to catch his breath. Lizzie seemed to have no trouble fixing her shirt and then rising to give him a hug. Wow, that felt amazing. Good. I liked it too. Maybe we can do more of this sometime. The cold air forced him to step away from her soon to get his cock back in his pants before it froze. Still, he felt warm and not just in a sexual way. Soon they headed back out of the alley. John felt like everyone must have noticed, but no one even looked at them. Actually, things outside seemed different. He frowned and glanced at Lizzie, who paused for a moment, then nodded. Something wrong? The sounds in the distance aren't normal. There's too much tension. As soon as she said it, he realized that she was right. It didn't sound like people talking and having fun. They were upset about something. Without needing to discuss it, they headed toward the source of the commotion. Soon they arrived at a densely packed group of people, clustered around a line of police tape. He could see a few cops moving within it, and spinning lights lit the entire scene in strange colors. But he couldn't tell what had happened. Lizzie shook her head, muttering something to herself. Not sure how to help her, John found a similar face in the crowd and tapped her shoulder. Hey, what's going on? Oh my god, it's horrible. Someone from our school was killed. What? Who? His face was taken off entirely. They're still trying to identify him. Oh shit. Do they know who did it? Say it. I can't believe this, but they said it was some girl from our school. She stabbed two of the police officers, like with a knife. They had to be rushed to the hospital. Wow. What about her? They shot her. Seriously. Or at least that's what I heard. I just got here in time to see the body before they covered it up. But I didn't see the violent part. I see. He wanted to back away in any case, but Lizzie was tugging on his arm. John nodded a quick goodbye and let her drag him away from the crowd. John? Lizzie, do you know something about this? You know it wasn't me, right? You trust me, don't you? I'm not worried about that. You were with me the entire time, but do you know something? There was another girl. Not like me, but similar. In our school? Really? Her mother knew Abby. They got kicked out of a Pt.6 program together. For the same reason? Being pregnant? Oh yeah, I've got to. I never liked her. We never really spoke, but I think she could have been capable of this. Then what do we do? I think we should go. Stay far away from this. I'm not arguing with you there. She went with him to his door and he kissed her goodnight. But they both knew that things hadn't been entirely settled. Not yet. They tried to watch the news, but it was all meaningless speculation about what could have caused the girl to murder her boyfriend so brutally. He had to turn it off after only a few minutes. Though there were still some more questions, when he went to bed he found they slipped away from him. Instead he thought about Lizzie's happy face during their date and he fell asleep, smiling. Okay, we got a skip function. Okay, we can... We're probably gonna get one of the endings. So let's... Okay, let's try staying. Oh, we don't get a skip. Sorry, Lizzie, but no. Things are safe now. No one's going to steal me away from you. Okay. The encounter with Lizzie dampened his mood substantially, but he told himself that he was still correct, that they had gone through a difficult time in their lives and things were better now. After school, he got a call to go to Mrs. Smith's office. He considered just not going at all. He wanted to spend the evening with Lizzie, but the note seemed urgent. When he arrived, he found Mrs. Smith with a rather grim expression on her face. John, I hope you're doing alright after the incident. I understand that the boy who died was a friend of yours. That felt like an eternity ago, but he realized that was more or less true. He shook his head slowly. An old friend, but yeah, it's hard to believe. Well, I thought we should have a conversation. It's okay, Mrs. Smith. I feel like I'm doing okay. But there are other students who probably need more help more than I do. I'm afraid I must insist. Lie down. He almost defied her then, but in the end decided to do as she asked. Therapy sessions always made him feel better. It couldn't hurt. No reason to draw attention to himself or Lizzie after all. Alright, what do you want me to talk about? My feelings about the incident? No, there's no time for that today. Huh? I need you to relax. Immediately. John began to settle back onto the couch, letting her words become a meaningless hum. And for the first time he realized how wrong that was. He lay there, apparently relaxed, as he tried to think back to their past therapy sessions. The more he thought about them, the more he realized an ominous pattern. He could barely remember any details. They would chat for a while, then the rest of their session was just a white haze. Ready? I need you to remain calm and come with me. She spoke flatly, as if she expected to be obeyed without question. What was this, some sort of hypnosis? Why is she so mad looking? Well? Realizing she might get upset, John slowly got to his feet. He wasn't sure how he was supposed to act, but he settled for straightforward obedience. Delayed response. Have you been taking your Paxtine lately? He gave a half shrug and just stared back at Mrs. Smith, frowned. Oh, at her. Mrs. Smith frowned, then shook her head and gestured for him to follow. I suppose it doesn't matter. All of this is normal. You want to follow me and await instructions. John had no choice but to do as she left the building. But inside he was panicking. What was he supposed to do now? If he'd seen Lizzie, he could have begged her to follow with his eyes, but didn't see even a hint of her. not even watching him from around the corner. They walked outside into the parking lot where Mrs. Smith opened the passenger seat door of her car and gestured for him to get in. He stepped inside and tried to keep the tension off his face, instead just staring forward. They didn't drive very far, just to a warehouse a few blocks from the school. It looked half abandoned, but when their car approached, the gates and then one of the garage doors opened for her. Where am I, Mrs. Smith? I thought you were just my counselor. And stuff. Inside there were multiple armed men in gray body armor. He didn't see any insignias on them or any indication of who they worked for. Why don't you take a seat, John? He got out of the car to obey, only then spotting the blank white table and 2 chairs placed in the center of the warehouse floor. Sitting down, he tried to stare blankly at the table even as he analyzed what it held. There are 2 metal briefcases, and just to make things strange, a box of surgical gloves. Oh. Remain calm but focus on me, John. You're aware of your surroundings, but willing to accept what I say. Huh? Not the most elegant of lies, but it seemed to work. Mrs. Smith barely even glanced at him, instead pulling on a pair of surgical gloves. We brought you here for your own protection, John. I'm afraid that your girlfriend is not who you think she is. Lizzie? What's the problem? Is she okay? I'm afraid not. Not even close. Mrs. Smith is getting a little bit too strange. Years ago, Pt.6 was an innovative company on the very forefront of biochemical research. But I'm afraid some of the company's founders were less than ethical. What does this have to do with us? Shut up. I'm getting there. Okay, Mrs. Smith, geez. Testing standards are rather lax. In particular, there was a certain test of a mood drug that should probably never have been certified. Dozens of lawsuits were settled for families that suffered on tests. That is right and good. Pt.6 acknowledges the mistakes of the past. Unfortunately, some of those mistakes are more enduring. 4 pregnant women participated in tests without disclosing their pregnancies. They were, of course, removed as soon as their condition was realized, but it was too late for the embryos. One became completely non-viable and was stillborn. There's conflicting evidence around the second, but it appears the boy may have committed suicide at a young age. But we are concerned with the last 2. One of them was the murderer who police shot down last night, and the last was Lizzie Doss. You're saying Lizzie had some kind of condition? Early investigations suggested both girls turned out normal, so the matter is closed. But recent events make it seem very likely that both of them were deeply disturbed. I'll be blunt. The girl is not remotely stable. She is a danger to herself and others. Did they really think that would work? That he would just nod and accept that story girls all around them aren't like paramilitary forces? Then again, perhaps she was counting on her therapy to have a controlling effect. Either way, all he could do was keep up his act. There was no doubt truth in what she was saying, and he needed to learn more. Then what do you want me to do? Why can't all your guards take care of it? John, we don't want to hurt the girl. Not at all. We want to help her. We would prefer she came in quietly. The implicit threat hung in the air. John swallowed and nodded. Then what am I supposed to do? The girl trusts you. If you can administer a sedative to her, then we hope you can medicate her without any unnecessary struggle. Mrs. Smith opened the first metal case, showing him a number of syringes filled with disturbingly bright liquid. They looked like chemicals that would melt metal, not ones that should go into anyone's body. If you are receptive to our plan, we will provide you with a variety of options. We have extra strength sedatives here, for example. However, based on the incident yesterday, I personally believe we may need more extreme option. I would advise you to use this one. Her fingers brushed the last syringe in the briefcase, one filled with a bright red liquid. This is a modified version of the chemical that Lizzie was exposed to in utero. Wouldn't that be really dangerous? Her body can barely handle... Oh, the right path. Oh, she's smiling deviously. Her body can barely handle the level of exposure she already received. An additional dose should lock her down entirely. And you expect me to convince her to be injected with something like that? It does not need to be injected intravenously. Autopsy of the girl indicates the chemical has a substantial effect on muscle tissue, so an injection into any muscle would be effective. Autopsy. This was more of a conspiracy than he had imagined. But there is no time to reel from that now. John simply nodded as if this was vaguely reasonable. Well, I want her to get the help she needs. Are you sure this won't hurt her? Let me be honest with you, John. There will likely be some pain for her as her body rejects the chemical. But it may be the only way to ensure that she harms no one and cooperates with treatment. I see. He sat forward and held his head in his hands as if he needed to think, which he desperately didn't need to do. Would they really just give him the syringes and let him go? He doubted it. At the very least, they'd be keeping him under heavy surveillance. Talking directly to Lizzie would be impossible. In fact, he had to wonder if everything Mrs. Smith was saying wasn't just a backup plan. It might be no accident that Lizzie was missing. Maybe they were looking for her. But ultimately, he didn't have enough information, and he didn't see any way of getting to the point he needed to reach with so many security forces present. Smith, HQ hasn't responded. Damn it, we'll just receive the plan then. No, it's not that. We seem to have lost a connection. Then this case is completely under my authority. John, we're counting on you to end this without anyone else getting hurt. I hope I can do that. You can. I'm sure of it. Then, should I? At that point, a radio crackled. One of the soldiers raised a walkie-talkie and tapped the button. What was that perimeter? Attack! Repeat! Under attack! Shit. Oh, that's... Shit, directly? Alright, switch to plan C. Get moving. The soldiers rushed to obey, and John rose with them. Surely it had to be Lizzie attacking them, but what did that mean? He only got one step before two soldiers grabbed his arms and forced him back down into the chair. He struggled, but they were adults and far stronger than he was. Sorry, John, but it looks like you'll have to serve as bait. As she spoke, she opened the second metal case. This one held syringes filled with clear liquid, one of which she lifted and examined. What? Mrs. Smith, what are you doing? This is going to hurt, I'm afraid. But if she snapped, this is all you're good for now. He tried to struggle even harder. The soldiers had gotten him strapped into the chair, bound in place.
He was helpless to do anything but twitch as Mrs. Smith approached the needle. Before he could do anything to stop her, she injected it straight into the vein on his arm, and the pain was instant. His world went white and his ears rang so loudly he could barely see or hear anyone. Mrs. Smith was desperately giving orders and the soldiers were moving about, but he couldn't understand any of it. He had never felt anything so painful before. His thrashing partially tore one of the straps binding him, then he slumped down with agony still washing through him. Through the pain, he dimly saw Lizzie arrive and slaughter the remaining soldiers. He seemed heavily injured, but it didn't stop her erratic, deadly movements. Lizzie had Mrs. Smith pinned now. She was saying something, but he couldn't hear over the rushing in his ears. It felt like his heart was going to burst with every beat. Distantly, he realized that Lizzie was threatening Mrs. Smith, then torching her. Whatever was said, it didn't matter. He fell away into the blazing white pain. He faded back into reality with cool hands on the sides of his face, piercing through the agony all around him. Somehow he managed to open his eyes despite the pain. "Hi, Lizzie. You came to help me." Lizzie's lips moved, but he couldn't hear anything. He realized that she was crying and didn't understand why. All he wanted was for the pain to stop. She leaned forward to kiss him, and the kiss was sharp and cold. He kissed back for a long time before he realized that her axe had entered his chest. Oh. It felt cool, almost pleasant. The burning hot white all around him began to fade to darkness. The last thing he saw before it all fell away was Lizzie. He tried to say goodbye, but it was too late. And I think for next time I'm gonna try going for maybe the true ending or one of the other endings. I'll think about it. But if you did enjoy this video, please leave a like, comment what you think so far, and if you want to watch more of it, please check the playlist down below. If you want to watch other videos, please subscribe to the channel. Thank you, and take care.